Classically beautiful, like the Triumph TR6. Save this endangered species. Buy one.
I'm back on the door. I'm working on, I've hammered and dollied out all the holes, prior holes, and I'm hammer and dollying this area, which was a total mess, as well as all these. There's a TR4 trim holes that go here, so I think this was a TR4 door. I think they're compatible, but the TR4 had trim, and I don't know, some of the TR6s did. So anyway, kind of using my my ugly stick, which is just a crowbar that I ground off the front and the back on, kind of, and I use that to get up in these corners here, and then my long reach hammer kind of thing. So yeah, I'll just continue doing that, and I'll show some progress later on. Alright. Okay, so it's Dave. I've got this formed pretty well back to shape. Made a little patch. It's got a little curve. Got it marked. I'm just filing it so it fits nice, and then I'll weld this guy in, weld up all these holes. I'm going to use MIG. I prefer gas most of the time, but it makes it easier for these little holes, and you know, just kind of silly to switch. Anyway, so I'll keep filing this guy up, make him fit nice, and weld it in. Alright, so I've welded up all the, I think it was 6 side view mirrors worth of holes, as well as the trim holes, and now I'm working on this dent. It took me about an hour and a half, but I cobbled together an $8 dent puller. And I was thinking about reusing these holes, but I'm just going to weld them up. I wanted to get this thing working anyway, so just welded on some 6-penny nails, and we'll try and make this dent smaller. It's probably about 3/8 of an inch deep, so I'll see if I can pull that shallower. Alright, so what I'm thinking is, like I said, I'm no expert, but I pulled it a little bit, and I pulled it up some, but the metal's all stretched out from the damage. So I'm going to add heat by welding up all these holes, which I'm going to close up anyway, and alternate with pulling with the pull-in thingamabobber that I made. So I'll get my helmet, and I'll probably wind up fast-forwarding this. Alright, so there is the semi-finished product, and at the risk of screwing this all up again, I'm going to try something different too. So I measured that gap. That is like 150 thousandths with my little machinist ruler. So I'm going to take my torch and see if I can shrink this up even more. I'm going to weld nails along this dent and heat up the metal and try and pull it some more and quench it and see what that does. So I may screw it all up, but I'm kind of curious if that'll shrink that down even more than the little over 1/8 of an inch that it is right now, so we'll see. Alright, so here we go. So I have no idea if I'm making a moderately okay situation worse or not, but I've welded on my nails, and I'm going to try and heat in between them and pull up, and I'm going to alternate, and how that goes. Alright, here you go. Alright, so the verdict is not much difference. So it still kind of bugs me, so I'm going to slit that and then reform it and see what I can do. Alright, so I'm jumping in with both feet. This, maybe I'm obsessing a little, but so what I've done is I have cut a gap with my Dremel because it's got a finer blade, and I'm hammer and dollying this side and prying this side, and I'm going to try and get them to line up and try and get this dent out of here. So I will keep you appraised of my success or failure. Alright, so you're looking at the door is face down. Here's the slit, and I'm taking my dolly, this guy, and pushing down along the edge of that slit and hammer and dollying along it. Hopefully my big head's on there. So see how I'm pressing it out? And it's right up against the thing. Alright, so I am pleasantly surprised with how easy that was. I hammered and dollied this area, and you can see it almost perfectly follows this line here. It's actually a little too high here. I might have to shrink that later with heat. This area is a little tight, a little low, but it's got the two frames here that I can't really get access to. So now the trick is going to be, how do I raise this lip to meet this, because the frame is there. So I may stick something under there and try and hammer and dolly that lip. So yeah, so I spent like basically 20 minutes doing that, and that's the progress. But I guess the proof's going to be in trying to get this part done. Wish me luck. Oh, almost fell. Alright, so I've gone full retard. I cut off the piece, so I'm going to clean up underneath while I'm at it, and I'm going to work it and make it flat and weld it back on, and I'll make that flat and that flat, and I've got this profile almost where I want it. I just got to bring this little, there's a bubble here, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I should be proud of myself for being persistent, or mad at myself for making more of a thing than I need to. Anyway. Alright, so I took the piece off and flattened it, but the door is still got a little bit of an oil can. You can see it in the lights. It's basically right I'm going to work on this area. So I marked it with, so I'll basically work in pattern, hammer and dolly, and hopefully I can get this piece to pop up and match that profile there. There you can see it. It's a little bit low there. Alright. Do a little hammer and dolly right here, and hopefully that raises right up. Alright, so I've got it just about where I want it. You can see that profile's pretty good. I actually have a block of wood under here because it's kind of oil canning without this edge to retain it. This wants to fall down. So I'm going to tack it up and hopefully it goes back into a modicum of its original shape. Alright. Alrighty. I have put a little roll-through primer on there. I hammered and dollied all this out, and what was happening was, because this edge wasn't here, this edge was free to flex. I think it was oil canning a ton. Anyway, it was oil canning a ton, and I couldn't get this to rise up no matter how hard I tried. And then I realized, no matter how much I work it, I think it's because this edge isn't captive. So what I'm going to try and do is weld this back on, and then continue the hammer and dolly. So I've got the nice, you can see that slightly bowed profile. The crease is out of it. Up right there, of course. I'll fix that. And then I'll try and make this edge as close as possible, and I'll weld that on. Okay, so this may be my first real screw up. So what I did was, well, the end result is this gap is now smaller. It was over 1/8 of an inch. It's probably like 3/16 of an inch. It's now under 1/8 of an inch. The problem is, because I hammered and dollied, you can see it. I hammered and dollied this area with this lip unwelded, so this lip was unrestrained. It kept bowing this way, and I kept thinking, oh, I just need to hammer and dolly it more. But then I realized too late that this lip not being unrestrained wasn't giving it the true profile. So now it's warped all to shit through this area. This part's actually, the crease is out pretty nicely, but so I've screwed up this area, and I'm going to have to think about how I'm going to get out. You can see in the light, you see that? There's a lump there that goes down, there's a lump here that goes up, and then there's still a high here and a low here from previous collision. So I'm going to need to ponder this one and how I want to tackle it. You know, maybe just get my shrinking disc out. And I just hate to do it around the family, it's just so loud. But what are you going to do? So maybe I'll post this video, and yeah, hopefully I'll have some better news on the drive restore. Hope I don't have to get a new skin or try and reskin it. Skins are expensive. Maybe I can just buy some 20 gauge and do it manually and weld it in. Alright.
Great cars and a great deal more.